My 8-year-old adopted granddaughter called me at 2 a.m., crying because her parents left her behind to take their biological son on vacation. The phone rang in the darkness of my bedroom, pulling me from a restless sleep. I fumbled for it on the nightstand, squinting at the bright screen. Maya. My granddaughter's name glowed in the darkness. Maya never called this late. Maya was 8 years old and should have been asleep hours ago. Maya? Sweetheart, what's wrong? The sound that came through the phone shattered my heart. Sobbing. Deep, gasping sobs. The kind of crying that comes from a pain so profound that words can't contain it. Grandma. Her voice was barely a whisper between sobs. Grandma, why? Why what, baby? What happened? Where are you? I'm at home. They left me at home. Who left you? Where are Mommy and Daddy? They went to Disney World with Ethan. They said I couldn't come. They said it was a special trip for their real son. Their real son. The words hit me like a physical blow. Maya, where are you right now? Are you alone? Mrs. Patterson is here. She's sleeping on the couch. Mommy said she would take care of me while they're gone. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly neighbor who could barely hear and fell asleep by 7 p.m. every night. They had left my granddaughter with a woman who was functionally absent just so they could take their real son to Disney World. How long are they going to be gone? 5 days. They left this morning. Daddy said they would bring me a present. Her voice broke again. But I don't want a present, Grandma. I want to go too. Why can't I go too? Am I not their real daughter? I was already out of bed, turning on lights, pulling a suitcase from my closet. Listen to me, Maya. Listen very carefully. You are their real daughter. You are my real granddaughter, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. Do you understand? Then why did they leave me? I don't know, baby, but I'm going to find out. I need you to do something for me, okay? Okay. Go back to sleep. I'll be there before you wake up, and then we're going to take a little trip of our own. Where are we going? We're going to Disney World. Silence. Then, in a small voice filled with desperate hope, Really? Really? Now go to sleep. Grandma's coming. I hung up the phone and called the airline. My name is Vivian Okafor. I am 64 years old. I was born in Ibadan, Nigeria, and I came to America at 22 to pursue my dreams. I built a successful consulting business over 40 years. I raised 3 children, buried 1 husband, and accumulated enough wealth to live comfortably for the rest of my life. But none of that matters right now. What matters is that my son, my own flesh and blood, left his 8-year-old daughter alone because she doesn't share his DNA, and I'm about to remind him exactly who raised him to be better than this. Let me tell you about Maya. She came into our lives 4 years ago when she was 4 years old. My son Derek and his wife Stephanie had been trying to have children for 7 years. 7 years of fertility treatments, of hope and disappointment, of negative pregnancy tests and tears. When they finally decided to adopt, I was overjoyed. A grandchild. Someone to spoil, to love, to pass on my stories and traditions to. Maya was perfect from the moment I met her. She had been in foster care since she was 2, taken from a mother who couldn't care for her, passed between homes until Derek and Stephanie found her. She was shy at first, uncertain, a little girl who had learned too young that adults couldn't be trusted. But she bloomed. With stability and love, she transformed from a scared little girl into a bright, curious, joyful child. She called me Grandma within 3 months. She learned to read with me, sitting on my lap as I pointed to words in storybooks. She helped me cook Nigerian dishes in my kitchen, standing on a step stool to stir the pot. She was my granddaughter in every way that mattered. And then, 2 years after the adoption was finalized, Stephanie got pregnant. The pregnancy was a surprise. After all those years of trying, they had stopped hoping. But there it was, a positive test, a healthy baby, a biological son they named Ethan. I was happy for them. Of course I was. Another grandchild to love. But I watched carefully. I watched as the nursery that had been Maya's playroom was converted for the baby. I watched as the attention that had been focused on Maya shifted to the pregnancy, the birth, the endless demands of a newborn. I watched as Derek started referring to Ethan as my son, and Maya as Maya, or your daughter, when talking to Stephanie. Small things, subtle things, the kind of things that might mean nothing, or might mean everything. I tried to talk to Derek about it once, about 6 months after Ethan was born. "You need to make sure Maya doesn't feel replaced," I said. "She's been through a lot. She needs to know she's still your daughter." "She is my daughter, Mom. Nothing's changed." "Are you sure? Because last week at dinner, you introduced Ethan as my son and Maya as our adopted daughter. That distinction matters." "You're overreacting. Maya knows we love her." "Does she? Because children don't hear what you mean. They hear what you say." "Mom, please, I know how to raise my own kids." I let it go. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have let it go for 2 years. I shouldn't have watched the slow erosion of Maya's place in their family without doing more. But I trusted my son. I believed him when he said nothing had changed, and now my granddaughter was crying at 2 a.m., asking why she wasn't a real daughter. The flight left at 6:47 a.m. I had called Mrs. Patterson first, waking her from her couch slumber to let her know I was coming. She was apologetic, confused, clearly unaware of the emotional devastation happening in the bedroom upstairs. "I didn't know they weren't taking her," she said. "They just said they needed someone to watch her for a few days. I assumed she was sick or something." "She's not sick. She was left behind." "Oh." A pause. That's not right, is it?" "No, it's not." I arrived at Derek's house by 5 a.m. Maya was awake, sitting on the front steps with a small backpack, watching the street from my car. When she saw me, she ran. She threw herself into my arms with a force that nearly knocked me over, wrapping her legs around my waist like she was afraid I would disappear if she let go. "You came," she whispered. "I told you I would." "They said you probably wouldn't want to be bothered." The words were a knife to my chest. They told her I wouldn't want to be bothered. They told my granddaughter that her grandmother wouldn't come when she needed her. I held Maya tighter. "Listen to me. I will always come. Always. No matter what time it is. No matter where you are. No matter what anyone tells you. If you need me, I will be there. Do you understand?" She nodded against my shoulder. "Now let's go get your real clothes. We have a plane to catch." The flight to Orlando was 3 hours. Maya had never been on a plane before. Another thing Derek and Stephanie had never bothered to give her, despite taking several trips themselves over the years. "She's too young," they always said. "She wouldn't enjoy it." But Ethan, at 2 years old, was apparently old enough for Disney World. I bought Maya the window seat. I let her order ginger ale and pretzels. I answered her endless questions about how planes worked, why the clouds looked different from above, whether we could touch the sun if we flew high enough. By the time we landed, she was giggling. The sound was worth every dollar of the last-minute tickets. The hotel was easy to find. Derek had posted on Facebook that morning a photo of Ethan in Mickey Mouse ears with the caption, "Making magical memories with my little guy." My little guy. Not my kids, not the family, my little guy, just Ethan. I showed Maya the post, and I watched her face fall. "See," she whispered, "I told you, they only love him." "Your father is making a mistake, Maya, a big one, and he's about to learn exactly how big." We checked into the same hotel, the Grand Floridian, because of course Derek had chosen the most expensive resort on property. I booked a 2-bedroom suite, texted Derek that I was visiting Orlando, and waited. He didn't respond for 2 hours. When he finally did, the message was curt. "Busy with Ethan. Can we catch up when we get back?" I didn't reply. Instead, I took Maya to the Magic Kingdom. If my son wanted to make magical memories, we would make our own. The collision happened at dinner. I had chosen Be Our Guest, the fancy restaurant inside the Beast's Castle, the one that required reservations months in advance, but somehow had availability when you offered to pay triple the normal price. Maya was wearing a princess dress we had bought that afternoon. Belle's. Golden gown, because Beauty and the Beast was her favorite movie. She'd been measured for it at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, had her hair done in a perfect updo, and was wearing a tiara that sparkled under the chandeliers. She looked like royalty. She felt like royalty. And that's when I saw them. Derek, Stephanie, and Ethan, walking into the same restaurant. For a moment, I considered hiding, avoiding the confrontation, letting them have their dinner while we slipped out a side door. But then I looked at Maya. Maya, who had spent 2 days believing her parents didn't love her. Maya, who had cried herself to sleep every night, wondering what she had done wrong. Maya, who deserved to see her parents' faces when they realized what they had done. "Maya," I said quietly, "your parents are here." Her head whipped around. I watched as she spotted them. The hope that flashed across her face, followed immediately by fear. "Should we hide?" "No, sweetheart. We should say hello." I stood up. I took Maya's hand, and I walked directly toward my son. Derek saw me first. His face went through a remarkable transformation. Confusion, then recognition, then disbelief, then something that looked almost like fear. "Mom, what are you—" "Hello, Derek. Stephanie." I smiled. All teeth, no warmth. "Fancy meeting you here." "What are you doing in Orlando?" "Taking my granddaughter to Disney World, the one you left at home." Stephanie's face went pale. It was supposed to be a special trip. She was fine with Mrs. Patterson. Was she? Because at 2 a.m. last night, she called me crying, asking why she wasn't your real daughter. The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other families were watching, sensing the drama unfolding at the entrance. "Maya, sweetheart." Derek reached toward her. Maya stepped behind me, gripping my hand tighter. "She asked me a question, Derek. A question you're going to have to answer. She asked why you left her behind. She asked why Ethan gets to come on special trips, but she doesn't. She asked why you called him your real son." "I never said that. You posted it on Facebook this morning, making magical memories with my little guy. Not my kids, not the family. Your little guy, singular." "That's not what I meant." "What did you mean then? Because I'm very curious how you're going to explain to your daughter why she spent 2 days with a neighbor she barely knows, while you took her brother to the most magical place on earth." Stephanie started crying. "It wasn't like that. We just thought, Ethan is so young and Maya is older, she would understand." "She's 8, Stephanie. 8. She understands that her parents left her behind. She understands that her brother gets things she doesn't. She understands that since Ethan was born, she's become second priority. She understands more than you give her credit for. We love Maya. Do you? Because love doesn't leave a child crying at 2 a.m., wondering if she's wanted. Love doesn't make a child believe her grandmother won't be bothered to come for her. Love doesn't create separate categories for real children and adopted children." Derek finally found his voice. "Mom, this isn't the place." "You're right. The place should have been your home, where you should have packed Maya's bag alongside Ethan's. The place should have been the airport, where you should have held both your children's hands as they boarded their first plane together. The place should have been right here, in this restaurant, where Maya should have been sitting with her family instead of being discovered by accident." I pointed to Maya's dress, the golden gown, the tiara, the perfect princess transformation. "See this? This is what magic looks like. I've been here for 6 hours, and I've already given your daughter more joy than you've given her in 2 years. That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed. "You want to talk about fair? Fair is treating your children equally. Fair is not making one child feel like a second-class citizen in her own family. Fair is not using the word real to distinguish between the children you're legally and morally obligated to love with your whole heart." Ethan started crying, overwhelmed by the tension, by the loud voices, by the disruption to his perfect vacation. Stephanie picked him up, shooting me a look of pure hatred. "You're ruining everything." "No, Stephanie, you ruined everything the moment you decided that biology mattered more than love. I'm just showing your daughter that someone in this family still puts her first." I turned to Maya. "Do you want to stay for dinner, sweetheart, or would you rather go back to our table?" Maya looked at her parents, then at me, then back at her parents. "I want to go with Grandma," she said quietly. Derek's face crumpled. "Maya, please." "You left me. You left me at home with Mrs. Patterson, and you took Ethan on vacation, and you didn't even say goodbye properly. You just said you'd bring me a present. Like I'm a dog you can leave at a kennel. We were going to video call. You haven't called once, not once in 2 days. I waited by the phone, but you never called." The silence that followed was devastating. I watched my son realize finally what he had done. I watched the excuses die on his lips. I watched him see his daughter, really see her, for the first time in years. "Maya," he said, his voice breaking, "I'm so sorry." "I don't want sorry. I want to go with Grandma." She tugged my hand and I let her lead me away. But before we got far, I turned back to my son. "You have choices to make, Derek, right now, today. You can continue down this path and lose your daughter completely, or you can start treating her like what she is, your child, your responsibility, your gift. But I promise you this, if you ever make her feel unwanted again, I will pursue legal options to ensure she's placed somewhere she's valued, and I have very good lawyers." I didn't wait for a response. I took my granddaughter to our table, ordered her favorite dessert, and let her tell me about every ride she wanted to go on tomorrow. The rest of the vacation was magical. Not because Derek and Stephanie joined us. They didn't, at first. They spent the first 2 days keeping their distance, presumably trying to figure out how to handle the situation. But on day 3, Derek appeared at our hotel room, alone. "Can I come in?" I looked at Maya, who was coloring at the desk. "It's up to Maya." Maya studied her father for a long moment. "Okay," she finally said, "but only if you're going to be nice." Derek sat on the edge of the bed looking at his daughter with eyes full of regret. "I came to apologize, a real apology. Not excuses or explanations, just, I'm sorry." "For what?" "For making you feel like you weren't wanted, for treating you differently than Ethan, for leaving you behind when I should have brought you with us." "Why did you?" Derek was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that I don't know how to be a dad to both of you. Scared that I was doing everything wrong with Ethan and thought maybe it would be easier to focus on just him for a few days, but that was wrong. That was cowardly, and you paid the price for my fear. Do you love me?" The question hung in the air. More than I know how to say. I know my actions haven't shown that. But I love you, Maya. You're my daughter, not my adopted daughter, not my other daughter, my daughter. The same as Ethan, and I'm going to spend the rest of this trip and the rest of my life proving that to you. Maya looked at me. I nodded. She looked back at her father. "Okay," she said, "but you have to do the teacups with me. Mommy always says they make her sick, but you have to do them." Now Derek laughed, a wet, broken sound. "I'll do the teacups. I'll do every ride you want." "Even the scary ones?" "Even the scary ones." Maya got up from her desk and walked to her father. He opened his arms and she let herself be hugged. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. That would take time. Maybe years. But it was a start. The rest of the week, we did Disney together. All of us. Derek, Stephanie, Ethan, Maya, and me. Stephanie apologized too, though hers was more awkward, more reluctant. She had been the architect of the special trip, the one who had suggested leaving Maya behind. It would take longer for Maya to trust her again, but they tried. They held Maya's hand in line for rides. They let her choose where to eat. They took family photos with both children centered equally in the frame. And Derek changed his Facebook post. He deleted the "My Little Guy" caption and replaced it with a photo of all 4 of them, him, Stephanie, Ethan, and Maya, standing in front of Cinderella's castle, making magical memories with my family, all of my family. The comments flooded in. Where was Maya in the earlier photos? So, glad to see the whole family. That princess dress is adorable. Maya looks so happy. Derek didn't respond to the questions. He didn't need to. The photo said everything that mattered. It's been 2 years since the Disney incident. Maya is 10 now, tall for her age, confident, thriving. She plays soccer and takes piano lessons and has a best friend named Sophie who comes over every weekend. Derek and Stephanie have changed. Not perfectly. Growth is never perfect, but meaningfully. They catch themselves when they slip into old patterns. They make conscious efforts to include Maya in everything. They never use the word adopted unless Maya brings it up first. And Maya? Maya knows she's loved. She doesn't cry at 2 a.m. anymore. She doesn't wonder if she's real. She knows that her grandmother will always come when she calls, and she knows that her parents, despite their mistakes, are trying to be better. Last month, she told me something that made me cry. "Grandma, thank you for crashing their vacation." You remember that? I'll never forget it. You flew all the way to Florida for me. You made sure I didn't miss the magic. You deserved the magic, sweetheart. I know. You taught me that. She paused. But Grandma? I'm glad you made Daddy come too. I'm glad he apologized. I'm glad we're a real family now. You were always a real family, Maya. Some families just need a little help remembering what that means. She hugged me, this tall, confident 10-year-old who had once been a scared little girl crying in the middle of the night. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby, more than all the magic in all the kingdoms in the world. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to fight for a child who wasn't being treated fairly. Like and subscribe for more stories about love, family, and the grandmothers who refuse to let their grandchildren be forgotten. Why, Grandma? That's what my 8-year-old granddaughter asked me at 2 a.m., crying into the phone. Why did they leave her behind? Why did they only take Ethan? Why wasn't she their real daughter? I didn't have answers. I only had plane tickets. 12 hours later, we walked into the same restaurant where my son was making magical memories with his little guy. He didn't even know she was in Orlando. He didn't even know his daughter had cried herself to sleep for 2 nights straight. He didn't even know his mother had dropped everything to make sure his daughter didn't spend another moment feeling unwanted. Maya, sweetheart, he started. She stepped behind me. I want to go with Grandma. That's when he finally understood. That's when he finally saw what he had done. Why Grandma? The answer was never about why they left her. The answer was why I came. Because she's my granddaughter. Because adopted doesn't mean less. Because no child should ever have to ask if they're real. And because some vacations need to be crashed to remind people what family actually means.